Right, you're joining me in October, early October 2024 in my UK tropical garden. We all know what this year's been like. Very poor, very cool, but we're gonna, not really a tour, just a look around the garden, see what plants have done well, see what hasn't done so well, and just have a chat about a few tropical looking plants. So I don't know if you're getting that, but there's a lot of the Colocasias I've had in the garden all summer and now in the conservatory. There's a bit of glare on the window, so you may not see that, but I've got them in the conservatory and they will stay there over winter, go dormant. Tree ferns, which are in raised planters, have done okay, done really well actually up till about August when they got really dry, and even though they're on a drip, some of the older leaves sort of have died back and gone brown, but the main flush this year is still all good. I won't go in the greenhouse in a minute, it's just loads of sort of small palm trees, stuff I've grown from seed, and some small palms I've bought off eBay, so that'll be a subject for another day. So we've got the arid bed here. Everything's done fine here. We've got this big Mexican lily, which is not flowered yet, so I believe once they flower they die, but it's got several pups around it, some getting a good size now as well. Just a nice sort of almost agave look to them, but just a soft leaf, nice sort of silvery finish to the green. Quite a large plant now, at least 4 foot high by 4 foot wide. We've got one echium, so we'll see if that survives the winter, and we'll hopefully get some flowers on that next year. We've got a small yucca restrata at the back there, which has been ticking away. That's been in for a couple of years from a very small plant. Starting to put on a little bit of size now. You'll laugh at this. All my dahlias, which I think it's not been a good year for dahlias, just due to all the slug damage at the beginning of the year. They tried to grow a couple of times, got taken down to the ground by slugs. The foliage has started to grow, and we've actually got a little small flower bud on, but whether they'll actually flower or not is another matter. It's the same with all my dahlias this year, they've all been hammered. Again, we have got a few flower buds, but whether they'll actually get round to flowering, who knows. So that's the first year I've ever had that where it's been so wet at the beginning of the year that the slugs just went mad. Right, Brahero Marta, absolutely fine, looking really good. That nice silvery, bluey green. The variegated Agave Americano is starting to turn into a bit of a beast. Got a few pups around that, so I may remove them in the spring. Yeah, so along here, I mean, that was full of Colocasia and that, which is obviously gone over now, which really could do with cutting back because it's looking a bit messy. Got a few of the elephant ears which survived the drought. Fontanicii, which is I've found to be the most drought tolerant, that's done okay. A lot of the other ones, the pink chinas and the escalenta, not done so well. Really struggled in that dry patch we had. We had literally 2 months with no rain, and that's when the weather, the temperatures picked up, so not a good combination. Burgundy stem looks nice, but just very small. Jack's giant never really got going. The biggest leaf on that is this one. Nothing to write home about there. So yeah, there's a few, well, quite a few disappointing things. The Spanish reed, that's done okay because we had a wet start to the year, so that's a lot of new canes came up. I will say a lot of the old canes are very scruffy. They sort of die off in winter, but they don't die totally. So if you want nice fresh foliage like these ones, you need to cut them back every year, because if not, you'll get lots of little scraggly growth rather than nice big leaves on them. But yeah, they've done okay. Yeah, I'm guessing about 11 or 12 foot tall. Looking pretty good. So at the back here we did have bamboo in a raised trough behind the seating area here. So I took all that out and I've replaced that with a couple of variegated Mexican lilies. So we'll have a closer look at them. So they've settled in quite nicely. And we've got the Amicia there, which is a very small plant when I put it in, literally about 6 to 8 weeks ago, but that's actually well over doubled in size in that time, so that's done well. This Begonia grandis, which is this popped up out of nowhere like they do, and it's probably the best one looking one in the garden. It's flowered non-stop. Yeah, and it's not looking too bad. So yeah, I didn't really want to take that out, it just looked too nice. I did have a Tetrapanax in this area here, which I removed early spring, and since then, as usual, I've had loads of pups come up. So I've got a little one turn up in here, another one down the side there. We've actually got another one underneath the begonia there, and yet another one here, so I may well take them out and pot them up. Yeah, so we've got a selection of potted palms here. I think I went through most of these in a earlier video this year, so there's really no point going through all them again. Cycad Revoluta, which flushed out this year, looking really good. I don't cut the old leaves off, I leave them until they go right nasty and brown, and I'll cut them off. I mean, this is the new flush from here upwards, and that's looking really nice. And at the bottom area I've got a couple of little pups coming as well. Right, so I wouldn't say it's been a brilliant year for the bananas where I am again. East Anglia, very eastern tip of the UK. We're sandy soil, very dry in the summer, so it's always a struggle keeping anything sort of big lushy leaves. Keep it hydrated is always an issue. I have got a soaker hose wrapped around all these along this border. So the bananas have done okay. The inset Morellii looking a bit wind battered now, but ultimate height probably about 6.5 foot, and inset Heniba a little bit taller, maybe 7 foot, and all the Musa Bajus at the back, which you can barely see. I moved them so they didn't obviously get no roots down this year, so not going to be anything too impressive. We've got the Musa Siconensis, which as they get bigger, they do the coloration does fade on the leaves, and these are both Bengal tigers. Smaller, younger leaves are a lot prettier. So I'm waiting to see what this new Ever Red variety, if that's true to form. We probably won't know for a year or two, but whether that'll be any different or not, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm really trying to keep this as short as I can, so I'm really just doing the highlights and lowlights, nothing in between really. So Torbay Dazzler Cordyline, looking really good. Actually this year it did pop out a little pup at the bottom. The passiflora has continued to flower. And fruit, a lot of the fruits have been dropping off. Yeah, I got this queen palm. It's looking a bit yellowy through the viewfinder here. It's not that yellow in real life, but it's not looking brilliant. Again, very poor year to grow something that wants to be in wants a lot higher, hotter temperatures. This Musella lasiacarpa has done well. So this is one that's been left in the ground for the last 2 winters, and they've been quite nasty winters to be fair, and that's survived, and as big as it's ever been this year. Looking quite nice. I reckon that one might flower next year, but which obviously they are monocarpic, so they will die after flowering, but there's about 5 or 6 pups around there, so I'm not concerned. So a lot of the cannas have been slow this year. We've got the Musifolia there, which this particular one is barely 5 foot. The biggest one is this one, which is maybe about 6.5. It's got a little bit congested around this area. I've got a very small Schefflera delevii in there, which has got totally shaded out by all the other plants around it. That went in spring. That's been ticking away nicely. Washingtonia robusta, basically all the leaves you see there are all new this year. That's flushed out well. Cut a lot of the older leaves off. That is to the tip of the biggest leaf. About 7 foot. Leaves are always quite big and impressive on these. A lot of the small, slow growing palms have been ticking away okay. We've got more cannas here which have been flowering away. I haven't got round to digging the gunner out, but that is coming out. We have got some plants to go into place of that, which will probably be next year. Not really tropical, but I've got a couple of fruit trees here. The plum tree produced about 2 plums, which dropped and were absolutely terrible. The apple tree, absolutely full of apples. I've been picking loads off that, and there's still loads on there. Yeah, so things that, again, not done brilliantly, but ticking away. So this is one to watch over winter. This is the Rhaphis excelsior, or lady palm. It's not looking brilliant because I got sunburnt last year. It has pushed out some new leaves in there, so we're going to see if that will survive winter outside this winter. Again, early on in the year, we've got which was looking really nice, Fatsia spider's web, and that is a combination of slugs and caterpillars, I believe. Most of the leaves have been eaten on that anyway, whereas the variegated Fatsia is practically untouched. This is my personal favourite Bootia odorata in the garden because it's a little bit bluier and a little bit wider leaflets. This has done really well. This has opened 3 leaves this year, and I've got a huge spear which probably won't open till next year now. Another success is this, and I believe it's only been, I went in last year, so this is a Mower's Toes Pseudopanax. I went in last year as probably about a 3-foot plant, so over winter no damage whatsoever. This year, or this growing season, well over 6 foot now over the fence level, and yeah, just looking really good. Quite an unusual leaf formation on that. So we have got a Nico palm down here. This is one which lost a lot of the leaves over winter. It survived, and it's opened up. That had a spear over winter, and this is the leaf that's opened up from that. That's not looking too clever. Right, we've got a Tetrapanax Rex here. So this was a pot specimen I brought last year, and it went in the ground this year, so that's really just getting its roots in. So I'm hoping next year we're going to get some impressive leaves on that, because this year it's obviously quite small, but perfectly formed, but small. Another success I'd say this year is, this is one of my favourite Cordylines. This is a Cordyline Superstar, and took minimal damage over winter, really just some of the old leaves on it browned off, but a lot of the leaves took very little damage, and we can see the new flush here, and we can see how wide these leaves are, and nice glossy wide leaves with that almost sort of pink coral strip down the middle. Really nice Cordyline, that one. Something a bit different. Yeah, so all the hardy palms have been ticking away nicely. Waggy and Fortunae here both went in as very small palms. A few years down the line they're starting to get some decent size on them. Cordylines, Cordyline australis, still massive. I am estimating that at about 18 foot now. Just do line up with the Phoenix canariensis, which is a good 14 foot. Yeah, that's at least 4 or 5 foot taller. Full of seeds, which no doubt will drop and self-seed everywhere. And this is a self-seeded Cordyline. We've got loads of them everywhere. Right, so we've got a selection of Camerops humilis along here. We've got another Pseudopanax ferox, which is I bought that as a very small, probably about a foot, and it is now approaching 4 foot, so it's done a bit of growing. Hasn't done too bad at all. I've got a Cyathea cooperi in a pot here, which again probably got a little bit too dry, so some of the fronds have sort of shriveled up, but it's been pushing out new fronds throughout the summer. Right, if we can get back in this area. So we have got a Oranga engleri palm here. There's another sort of quite rare one for the UK, which I found to be pretty hardy. I don't know officially whether they're sort of supposed to be -6 to -8 Celsius, but yeah, as all last winter we saw -6 to -7, and really didn't take any damage. There's a few leaves on it, but this is the leaf that's opened up this year. So that's been slow, but doing okay. We've got another quite close quarters here. We've got another Fatsia variegated, which has done really well this year. Now starting to bud up. And we've got the big leaf rhododendron, which flushed out well this year. I wouldn't say any of the leaves are any bigger than the last year's flush, but they are maybe about 16 to 18 inches, some of the leaves on that. Whereas some of the older ones, this one in particular, is closer to 2 foot. Right, so we have got a Mahonia soft carescent here, which we can see is starting to push out some flowers. So that's a nice bit of interest for autumn stroke winter. The Acer at the back here, Japanese maple. Leaves are now starting to change colour, so they are going to be dropping soon, as will all the leaves on the trees at the back of my garden. These trees aren't in my garden, they're behind fence level, but they will drop all the leaves, but luckily our main winds this time of year tend to blow them in the other direction, so they don't all come down in my garden, surprisingly, for all the large trees that are there. Yeah, we don't really get any mess in the garden. There's a line of trees all the way along the back there, and really no mess whatsoever, so that's always a bonus. Canariensis, it's been a slow year, and a lot of the new fronds have not got to the length of some of the previous year's fronds, considerably shorter, but I think it is putting a lot of growth into the width of the trunk, so we'll have a look at that in a minute. I have got a couple of fronds which are going to be cutting off in the spring next year, because they are at eye level now, which can be a hazard, but I'll leave them over winter because some of these fronds are actually protecting some of the plants underneath. So we've got a big frond here which is coming right over, and that's going to protect, or give a little bit of protection to the oleander, which didn't really flower too much this year. We had a few flowers on it, but nothing special, so it's going to protect that, and some of the coloured cordylines here. I suppose this is a success for this year. So this is the pink china, starting to look a little bit rough now, but that has really been quite decent this year considering the temperatures. Let's see if I can get that's the biggest leaf on it at the moment, so not quite 2 foot, but that's been flowering quite heavily, so that's slowed down the leaf production on that. Yeah, a lot of the other Colocasias, we haven't had the heat for them, so they've been struggling a little bit. So we have got some white lavas. The redemption's been pitiful, and the marigold not been too impressive either, but one that's done quite well considering, and this is not like a big leaf Colocasia at all. It's more of a sort of taller petioles and sort of smaller leaves, but that's quite a nice standout one. That's a coal miner, and that's quite an easy one to overwinter as well. That's done quite well, along with this one on the ground here. Yeah, don't get me wrong, the Escalenta have done okay as well, but so I did move my Soteria palmifolia, which is the palm grass. Nice, really tight pleated leaves on that. So last year I had a big clump further down the border, and I split that up. I did sell a few divisions and give a few away, and also kept a big one for myself, which is this here, and that's done really well, and that's practically been in full shade, but that's due to the leaves on this robusta, but that's really filled out quite nicely. And yeah, that's some of the leaves on this. They will go about 4 foot tall. Quite a nice different type of grass if you like your grasses, or if you like palms. That's, yeah, I love it, I do. Right, so that's just kind of a brief look at some things. Obviously some things are going over. We've got the peonies, which cinder best now, they're starting to brown off, but where they're starting to die off and collapse, we've got some other plants to take their places. We've got some hellebores there. So this is quite a bluey silvery type, and we've got some more there, sort of more interesting variegated types there as well, which will flower over the winter period and early spring. So in general, yeah, that's been a disappointing year, but at the same note, you know, some things will always do well. Some things, you know, when you grow a wide variety of plants, you do tend to, doesn't matter if you get a really hot dry year or really cool wet year, some plants will do well, some won't, so you've always got some interest. So yeah, variety is the spice of life, as they say. Let's finish it up on the Jubea chilensis. So this went in spring, brought about this time last year, as a, you know, it's only in a small pot really. It's probably about a 20 litre pot. It's obviously settled in quite well. It's been pushing. It's opened two fronds plus, well, open 2 leaves and plus this frond, which is now starting to open, and there's a big spear behind that as well. Yeah, so that's done really well really, because it's, you know, probably quite root bound. It's obviously got its roots out. I have if you watched any of my garden tours, or if you're a regular viewer, you may know I've had this sort of more or less sort of a heart-shaped centre bed with the little raised portion here with the Jubea in it, but I have now extended that. I may well do that's an own video for that, because not that it's looking anything this time of year, because I haven't planted up. It's not going to be planted up till spring next year, but I've sort of avoided that area for now until we can I may well just sort of place a few potted plants in there, and we'll talk through that new area in a later video. Right, so the sum up of this year: spring promising, no late frosts, really promising sort of March time, and then the temperatures never really improved. It just sort of stayed like early spring weather until really to the end of May. So it's sort of cool and really wet, hence all the slug damage. And then it's still wet really up until July, or end of June at least, and then July it started to get a little bit better. August was a decent, you know, average summer, I would say, but very dry after that. And anyway, so yeah, the sum up is every year is going to be a challenge. This year was a challenge, but every year you'll learn something new and prepare better for next year, and all we can do is hope that next year will be better than this one, and we can hope for a mild winter and early spring. But yeah, in general, you know, it's easy to lose enthusiasm when everything seems to be against you with the slugs and the weather, and that really does sort of wind you up a little bit. But again, you know, by the end of the year you think, well, that doesn't look too bad, and we've always got next year to look forward to. Right, we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, we'll catch you on the next one.